Hi guys, this is Miss Kelly here at the Jonas Library, and I'm getting ready to do another step-by-step painting with you today. We're going to paint the back of a pickup truck. It's going to be surrounded by wheat, and there'll be a ginormous pumpkin in the back. I hope you can join me. Okay, so what you're going to need for this project is one medium square brush and one tiny detail brush. As small as you have is fine. And then you'll need black, white, yellow, brown, blue, and orange paint. And I'm using the inexpensive craft paint that you can get at Walmart or at Michael's craft store. You're going to need a cup of water and some paper towels. Now what I want you to also remember is that as we go through this video, you can pause it at any time to stop the actual video and catch up with what I'm doing, because mine has been condensed and took a lot longer than you'll see here. So the first thing that I want you to do is you're going to mix a little bit of well, you're going to start with a black or a brown canvas. I started with black that had a little gray at the bottom, but you can just start with the black canvas, and you're going to want to let that black paint dry really well. So paint it very, very thin so that you can get good coverage, but that it's dry. And then you're going to mix a little bit of yellow with a little bit of white and mix that really good, and use your square brush to brush a big U that starts at the bottom of your canvas and goes up the sides, just like I'm doing right here. You're going to want to let it go from one side to the other and fill it in almost to the top, like 3/4 of the way up. You're going to have these uneven strokes because you're making a big wheat field that your truck is driving through. And as you go, if you can keep it going in the direction that the wheat is going, it'll kind of help you with the movement of the wheat. You're also going to want to fill in the U a little bit so that you've got it more than halfway filled up with the yellow paint. When you've done that, then you're going to mix a little bit of brown with the yellow and the white, just a little, because you want to add some low light movement here. So you're going to brush in a little bit of this darker kind of goldeny color to add the depth to your wheat stalks as they go up around the sides of the truck, which you haven't added yet. And once you've done that, then rinse your brush really good, and we're going to go back to the yellow and the white, but this time I want you to make sure there's a little more white in the yellow and white than there was before, because we're going to add highlights to the wheat. And we're also going to paint these little seed pods, and you'll see when I'm painting it that you can just dab the seed pod shape onto the tips of your wheat, and you want it to be uneven, just like wheat grows. It's a lot of fun to make this wheat, and when you're done with the wheat, I want you to stop and let your canvas dry for a minute. And this would be a really good time to rinse your brushes, replenish your paper towels, get fresh water, and then when you come back, I want you to check to make sure that everything is dry, because we're about to start on our truck. And to start on our truck, we're going to use blue and white. The blue that I was using was a kind of a true blue, so I added a little bit of white to mine. You're going to start with the line where you're painting your bumper. The white color, you want pure white, and you want to take your flat square brush and just paint a thin long rectangle across the wheat, kind of at the maybe an inch down from where you stopped painting into the center of your U. Put your bumper, and it just needs to go flat across. Make sure that you're painting it thin without leaving any gloppy bits so that it can dry quickly. And then you're going to use the blue and the white to paint the rectangle, and you're going to put it on top of your bumper, leaving a little bit on each side for the fenders. So come in about a thumb's width on each side and make a bumper that's fairly deep. So you may want 2 inches of tailgate coming up on top of your bumper. Once you've painted that, you're going to fill that in with the same color blue, and then you're going to take your brush and start at the top left corner of your tailgate and bring it down to the top left corner of your bumper and create that rounded off fender. And then you're going to go to the right side and do the same thing. Once your fenders are filled in, we want to paint the cab of the truck, which we are seeing from behind. So we're going to start where the tailgate is, the width of the tailgate, and come up a little, and then it's going to kind of curve out on the sides, and then it'll round off at the top, just like mine's doing right here. And once you have that outline painted, you're going to fill that all the way in. Even though there's going to be a pumpkin and a window there, go ahead and fill that all the way in right now with your blue that's mixed with a little bit of white. Now you've got the basic truck shape. What we want to do now is go ahead and paint our window in white that's on the back of the truck cab. You want to make sure that this is really good and dry before you paint this, because the blue will bleed through. So go ahead and get your window painted, and you'll notice that it is a rectangle that's kind of rounded to follow the shape of the rounded part, the top of the truck cab. It kind of mimics that curve, but it's much smaller. Don't worry that it's not perfect, because we're going to clean up a lot of these lines when we do the outlining. This is also a good time to add the rear view mirrors on each side of the truck. So you just want to use your flat square brush with the pure white and give that a little slanted mirror shape. And once you've done that, let's let this dry again. And while that's drying, rinse your brush really good, and we're going to mix a tiny bit of brown with a tiny bit of blue. It's going to mostly look brown, but the blue kind of tempers the brown and keeps it from being so harsh. And then dab off all the wet on your brush, and you're going to kind of dry brush in a little bit of shading that would come up from the bottom of the cab and come around the top a little, and then it will also delineate the shape of your tailgate and your fenders. And when you're through with that, we're going to add our big ginormous orange pumpkin. So with your orange paint, you're going to paint the circle. A pumpkin is a circle, and you want to paint a good circle back here, or you can make yours long and tall, or any kind of funny shape you'd like to, because pumpkins grow in all different shapes. I made mine kind of a circle, but I let the bottom part of the circle stop when I got to the top of the tailgate, that sharp line of the tailgate, because I want it to look like the pumpkin is resting inside the bed of this, not the bed, but the bed of the truck. I want it to look like it's riding in the back. So I stop it and it's just cut off right there. And then I'm going to fill in my pumpkin with the orange that is start it at the top and kind of bring it down so that you can see the shape of the pumpkin and the way that it grows, the little sections. And next thing we're going to do, we're going to rinse our brushes really good and get the black paint in our tiny detail brush. And this is when we need a steady hand. You can turn your canvas around however you need it to be so that you can get to the places where you're going to outline. You're going to outline the entire truck, the back mirror of the truck, the two mirrors, the back window, the pumpkin. You want to outline the tailgate of the truck, the fenders, the bumper, and then we're going to kind of let that dry for a minute, and then we'll go back in with a little bit of brown and paint our stem in the pumpkin. And you don't want the stem to sit right on the tip top, but bring it down a little bit from the bottom, like from the top of the curve of the pumpkin, so that it looks like it's sitting inside the roundness of the pumpkin. And then you're going to let it come up over the white window so that you can see that the pumpkin is in front of this window. And once you've got your brown stem, you can add your curlies right now to show the curly vine. You're going to outline, and you can use your black paint to show where the sections of the pumpkin are. I did a tiny bit of outlining on my stem. We want to get a tiny bit of white on our brush and highlight each section of our pumpkin so that it has some depth and it looks like it's coming toward you a little bit. It shows the curve. Then we're going to also highlight by dry brushing the highlight on the truck and around the tailgate. We're going to take some white paint and we're going to add highlights to the truck, and we're going to add highlights to the fender, or to the fenders, and also to the tailgate, just so you can see where like the imprint of the metal would be and the shape of things, giving it a little more depth. And then underneath the bumper, we're going to go in and with our square brush, we're going to add the black tires that are resting on the ground that's covered in the stalks of the wheat. We want to take a little bit of the black and show a little shadow coming down from under the truck. You can kind of dry brush directly under the truck, and then where the tires are falling on the wheat, you'll give a little almost, it'll look like the way the waves are on the ocean, but just kind of brush a little bit of that black down there. And then the next thing we want to do with our tiny detail brush, we're going to add stars. But I want you to start, if you're going to do the fancy star in the sky, I want you to start with that fancy star. And that star is just a dot in the middle. And then you're going to paint a thin line going up from the top of it. And opposite that, another thin line. And then on the sides, you'll paint a thin line and a thin line going out on the sides of it. And then between each of those lines, at the top and the bottom and in the middle, you're going to paint a shorter thin line to show the way it's shining, the sparkly star. And after you've finished your fancy star, I want you to take your brush. You can either use the bristles or you can use the wooden tip on the opposite end and paint more stars into your night sky so that you can see that your truck is parked in the middle of a wheat field carrying a ginormous pumpkin, and it's night. It's very pretty. I hope you've enjoyed this video, and I hope you'll join me again for another step-by-step painting. Thank you so much. Have a happy autumn.